Hey guys, welcome back. For today's video, we're going to continue with creating those pages. And to start with, we're going to pick first from our last example. As you recall, we managed to display those pages by clicking this site link. But today, we're going to pick the responsive toggle selection. As you notice, when I minimize this one, when I click this menu bar here or the menu burger, once I click this selection menu, it seems that these ones do not trigger the toggle because once I click this, although when I click this, it will display the home page. Same goes with about. Same goes with contact. So what we're going to do now is we need to fix this navigation section here. So let's start. To fix that section, we need to head back to our home, which is the main menu. Okay, so from here, we're going to modify the list section. As you recall, we managed to display the side navigation. What I mean is this one. We managed to display that in this list component. So for us to apply the automatic toggle, so what we need to do is we need to apply the on-click properties because right now we only got the selection here. So to make it more dynamic, so once I click this one, it will trigger this. We're going to apply the same method as what this toggle bar here perform, because right now we only pass this through what you call this function here, this handle drawer toggle. So this will serve as the toggle bar once the menu or the page in a mobile default format. So to apply this one, what we need to do is we need to call this function and then go to your list component. And from here, we can add one more properties. Let's say the on-click. Okay. Now for the on-click, this will serve as another trigger function. So just like the buttons, the normal button, we're going to apply that function in this section. So to do that, I'm going to apply the function here. So, but we need also to include these properties or function. We need to add also to the another list because right now we have two lists in our menu. So same goes, just paste that in here and save that. All right, so let's check. So head back to your browser. Okay, so now let's try by clicking this menu here. And then let's say going to select home. There you go. So same goes with about. Cool. Next, with contacts. Okay, cool. So that's it. Now that we managed to fix this one, okay, seems that works. Okay, good. So right now, we managed to fix the automatic close navigation. So now that we managed to fix this one, let us proceed now to the menu. So we're going to focus on each page here, and we're going to apply the other types of components that is available in Material UI. So for this demo, I'm going to modify the about. So I'm going to apply some bunch of information to occupy or display some information from this section here. So let's start. For this demonstration, I want to select a new component. Now, as you recall, please set back to our MUI documentation. So from our link, our website, just click the started. And then from the list of components, I'll be using, let's say, this. Okay. This one. Okay. What I'm planning to do is I'm going to create a timeline of my profession. So you can say basically this is uh, a small portion of the resume just to demonstrate on how to use this component timeline. Now, if you are on this section, timeline is one of the best components when it comes to, let's say you're making a step-by-step schedule or any process that you want to perform. So this is one of the best component. Okay. So what is a timeline? From this example, as you can see, this is a baseline of a series of line. So you can simply say that, let's say if you're doing some scheduling type, so this component is one of the best used. So we can, as you can see, we can perform that by displaying on the other side and this section on the left side. But for our demo, I prefer to use this alternating timeline. So I think this is best described for what you call the basic resume. So not necessary to make it more beautiful. So just to explain you on how to use this component. So let's start. Okay. So if you're on this section, you can review this later. But right now, we just make some do it. I mean, we're going to do it on our own. So to do that, let's head back to our about section here. So from here, so what are the things we need for our timeline? So for our timeline, let's say we need to call the following. So I'm going to minimize this one. Okay. Okay, cool. So from here, I'm going to, okay. Before we proceed to our timeline, we need to take into consideration of the next component that we're working on. Timeline is not part of the component that we added or automatic added in our material UI. So what we need to do is we need to apply this timeline by simply adding or or should I say we need to look for the MUI lab. Okay, so this belongs to these features. Okay, better in here. So MUI lab installation. And there you go. Okay. So basically, what it does in Material UI, you need to install some package that like the icons, the materials, you need to install that separately. So same goes, since we'll be dealing with timeline, we need to include also this package. So to do that, you need to copy this installation and head back to your code. And then make sure you are within the folder. Just paste the code, then hit install. Okay, cool. So once done, what we need to do now is I would like to copy that component. So let's head back to our code and go to the timeline component here. And what I'm going to do now is to copy this. I think there's a much better way here. Oh, okay, this one. Okay, okay, this is a very good example when it comes to our timeline resume. So going to copy this section or this code. So just click this show the source. Okay. So these are the requirements for this one. So what we're going to do is I'm going to copy this package. So from here, I'm going to paste that. Okay. And then in the code section, okay, so we can copy this one. Okay. Then we're going to paste that in here. Let's check. Okay, so no more errors. Okay, good. So let's head back to our code. And there you go. Let's see. Okay, so right now, as you can see, this one is working now. So what we need to do now is we need to pick some data here. So I'm going to do some cleanup. And for my cleanup, I would suggest, yeah, we can clean this section here. So we need to clean all the code here so that we only need those things that we only want. So as you can see, this is an example of a alternative timeline. So with the component, don't you worry, because since these are all copy paste from the original source, you just simply copy from the source that I copied, and then later on we just need to modify. So the things that I'm going to modify from here is I'm going to remove this section from this one until this one. I just leave the first line here. Okay. So let's group that so that to avoid confuse. So each timeline, as you can see, this is the parent timeline with a position of alternate. If you click this arrow here, so this belongs to a group of this timeline. So okay, you can skip that. So the first one is we have this timeline item. So you can minimize that, and it means that this belongs to this group. So the rest from here we can remove. Okay. Oops, not all. So should be till here. Okay, just leave this timeline close tag here, and the rest. Okay, so make sure you toggle this one so that this will be not included on your deletion. So once you remove that, okay, so that should be it. Let's save that. And there you go. So that's what I want. So the next thing now we need to do is we need to make sure that this component, uh, this uh, this component here should be applied to our what we call the basic resume. So what I'm going to do now is, okay, so what I'm going to do now is I want to modify this section and then apply the data, the necessary data for this one to work. So to do that, let's say I'm going to create a temporary data. For our data, we're going to create a similar to what we did with the menu. I'm going to make or create a variable declaration here. So let's say maybe inside from this section. All right, let's follow along. So from this section here, we need to type or declare a variable. I'm going to call this as data. And for our data, I'm going to enclose that with this bracket here. Now, these are the fields that we're going to require. So first, I need to add a year. Then next to year, going to add this column education. Position. Then from this section here, next to position is the you can put like the roles. Okay, so that should be a good one. Okay, so from here, I'm going to at least make a 3 data. Okay, so let's say on the first one, let's say this is 2022, position, IT manager, roles. Okay, maybe the good thing is, I think I'm going to put this as company. Okay, so I think that's much easier to fill up. Company. Actually, it doesn't matter what data you're going to put here. This is only a demonstration. So you can create on your own. So let's say the company here is Microsoft. Year 2020, let's say 2019. Here is a full stack developer. Company Google. Okay, so for this one, year 2015. Then for the position of backend developer, let's say Amazon. All right. Okay, cool. So now that we have our test data, the next thing now we need to do is we need to apply that data to our timeline. Now to do that, we need to discuss first some of these following here. Let's break down our information setup here. So first, we have the timeline, which is the the, the parent component for the timeline. As you can see, this was positioned to alternate. So regardless of what data they're going to pass on, this will simply display an alteration display. So next, we have the first child information, which is the timeline item. Similar to the list, these are information that displays on each row. So we have this, okay, I'm going to break this out. So the first one here, we have this opposite side, timeline opposite content. So if you see here, okay, okay. In here, we have the opposite timeline. So this one is the, okay. If you see here, this is a 9:30 a.m. information. So this should be correspondent or the opposite displayed information. So that's why we call this an opposite content. So from this section here, this display in this corner. Now, alternate to that, we have this, of course, we have also the line separator. So line separator, okay, so it extends from here to here, okay? So this section here holds the timeline separator. So that describes this one. I think this is the line here. So this is the timeline separator. Now within the timeline separator, oh sorry, yeah, correct. So within this timeline separator, so this covers from this middle section here. So the components here, we have these timeline connectors. Okay, so timeline connectors, so basically from this word, this are the line. And inside we have this icon here. All right. Now, let's, okay, that's the next one. Next one is we need to define the next section of the timeline. So observe this timeline content. Okay, so this section here, this display this information as well. Okay, so that's it. So there's one thing that I want to change from here. Okay, because right now this was set to secondary. So I want to change this color because right now I notice this is a gray color. So I'm going to change that color. Let's see if that works. Okay, that doesn't work. Okay, so just return that text secondary. So what I want to do now is I want to change the color of the connector. So that section. Because right now, I don't want this one to be gray. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the color. So head to this timeline dot. Okay, so from here, I'm going to apply the color for that one, for the icon. So let's say this one. So let's change that to primary color for the dot line. Okay, good. So that's cool. So that's it. So right now, since we managed already to modify this one and identify the section, now we're going to apply the data that we created a while ago. So to do that, uh, okay, I would suggest if you are in the timeline item, just click this arrow here, okay, so that we won't be confused on the data that we're going to apply or the operation. So for this one, I'm going to pass on this data function or the loop function, which is the mapping. So right now, okay, just take note on the following. First, I'm going to pass the item. Then I'm going to include the index. And then from section here, we can remove this one, I think. So then we're going to pass an arrow. And with this one, the bracket section here. So let's maintain this one like this. So from our data, okay, we need to enclose that. So to enclose that, we need to emphasize first the closing bracket here. So this is for the closing for this one. Next, we need to close this section here. All right, and the curly braces. Okay, curly braces is this one. Okay, good. Now that we enclose this one, okay, so should be make sure on the position that you're writing the code. Okay, next, right now we're going to replace some of the following. Check on this 9:30 a.m. Okay, from this section here. So just replace the data by simply calling the item dot here. Let's close that. Then this one should be this position. So I need to remove that. Then let's type item dot position. And the last one is the company. So this is item dot company. Save that. And let's head back to our code. And there you go. Cool. So right now, we managed to apply this timeline component. Okay, good. So that's the first step. So right now, we need to enhance this component. So the next thing we need to do now is we need to add some variations like the cover photo and we need to discuss this to add another component, which is what we call the card. So, okay, so let's continue on the next step. For the next component that I am talking about here is we need to apply the card component. So before that, I'm going to remove some of these icons or this package that does not exist anymore. So I'm going to clean this up. And then maybe after here. Okay. I'm going to include some of the important components that we're going to add. So the first one is I'm going to call the card. So this is same goes from the material UI. So at MUI, so this is from material. So take note on the difference because there are cases like this one. Okay. So this is the first one. Okay. Next, after the card, we're going to call or add this card header. So this is from MUI, of course. MUI material card header. Okay, and the last one should be from. Okay, so yeah, so that's okay. So next, I'm going to add also to what we call the card content from at MUI slash material, slash card content. Okay. So what it does is we have three sections here. So first we have the card as the main layout, the header, which is the caption, and the card content. This serves as the details. So let's start with the main, which is the card. So head back to our code. So what we're going to do is we need to minimize this one. Okay. And on the top of this section or component, I'm going to call this the card. So for the size, okay, so I'm going to display that. Should I say, I want it to be more plex so that whenever the position change, so plex will serve as the dynamic position, dynamic rearrange of all these components. So make sure you enclose that next to this timeline here. All right. So let's head back to our display. So far, right now we don't have Okay, good. So right now you can see there's a small box here, which is the outer layer for this timeline component. So what we're going to do is, what I'm planning is, I'm going to split this into half, wherein the left side should display the timeline and the right side should display the cover photo. Okay, cool. So let's continue on doing that section. Okay, okay. Now, as you recall, we declare some of the followings. We have the card header and also the card content. Now, for the card header, I want to display something unique, something an information that display your timeline. So I'm going to call the card content. Okay, doesn't matter. It should be on top of the timeline. And then I'm going to call this typography. Typography, this serves as your caption or your text component. So I'm going to label this as, okay. So I'm going to apply this properties component. And for that component, I'm going to call that as, or this simply as div. So this serves as a div. And with the variant, okay. So for the variant, okay. For the variant, I'm going to include an header 5. Okay. Let's say I'm going to put some name here. So let's say going to put my name. Now next to this section here, I'm going to copy this typography that I created. And then I'm going to change some of the following here. Okay. Next to variant, I want to make this a subtitle. Let's say 1. And the color, yeah, I think that should be fine. And the color should be maybe later with the color. So I think what I'm going to add here is yeah, I can simply copy this div component. I think that won't hurt. Okay, so let's enclose that. Let's check everything. It should be double code. Okay, so we have some errors. Okay, good. Now it's so in here, in this section here, I'm going to replace that. Let's say going to name this as full stack. Full stack developer. Let's save that. Now let's see how it looks. And there you go. Okay. Okay, good. But I don't want it to place in here because it's overlapping. So let's fix that. Okay, so to fix that, since I don't want this header content, this card content, to be overlapping with the things that I want to do, I want this timeline. Okay, I want this timeline to group into different sections. So this at this point, I'm going to call this component. I'm going to apply the next component, similar to card, but this time I'm going to call the box. So box serves as another container. So this is also under at moving slash still under materials slash box. Okay. So now that we call our box, the next thing we need to do now is I need to apply that box in here. So let's call our box, of course, with a size. So let's say I want to display that also as similar. I'm going to make this as flex. Then I'm going to wrap that with our timeline. Save that. So let's check. Okay, seems nothing changed. So let's enhance that. For this to fix our display, I need to add one more box on top of this component. So what I'm going to do here is I want to display this in a column matter. So of course, still under card, but we need to add one more properties or one component that holds the display. So from here, I'm going to call again the box, but this time I'm going to change the display. Oops, this is display. Okay, so same goes. I'm going to make this as displayplex. And then from their displayplex, I'm going to change the plex direction. Then from our plex direction, I'm going to position that as column. All right. And then I want to enclose that next to this box section here. So here, okay, just take note this section. So what it does is I want to compress that and then display that in a column manner. So, but first need to check everything. If okay, good. So no more error. So this last box is belong to this one, and we added this one inside this box component. So let's check, and there you go. Good. So this is what I want. I want this information from this section to display in this manner and the timeline to this section. Okay, cool. Okay, good. So next, now that we managed to fix the left corner, the next thing I want to do is to display a cover photo on the right section here. So to do that, let's add one more component, and that component is let's say from here, I'm going to call this import card media. Okay, so import card media, save goes, going to call that. This is also under movie. This is also part of, oops, sorry. This is also part of material. Okay, Okay, good. So I think I called this one, but I did not apply the card header. Yeah, so yeah, I did not call this card header. So I guess I can remove this card header here. So now we just focus on card media. Okay, let's copy that. Now what I'm planning to do with the card media, actually card media is simply the same as a same with what you define as a container. But this is basically for the image or something like that. So let's say from here, I'm going to call that this section. So we're going to apply some of the properties. So for this one, I'm going to call this, or this will serve as a component for image. Okay. So since we'll be working on the cover photo. So what I'm going to set up here is, let's say for the width size, going to set 400. Okay. Now also, since this is already an image component, we can call the image. Okay, so, we can apply any image from here. Also going to put some alt or this serve as the pop-up. So we can say that this is my cover photo. Right? So now what we're going to do is we need to call this image. So since we don't have the image yet, I'm going to search from the browser. So let's say going to search as cover photo. So let's pick from any cover photo from the website. So let's say huh? So while I'm doing this, you can also check which photo that you want to try. Or okay, this seems to be big. Okay. Hmm. Oh well, I think this one is good. So I'm going to copy that. Okay, maybe here. Save image as. Okay, for the photo location, okay, if you're saving a photo, go to your project, just place that inside this public folder. So inside the public folder on your project, create a folder. So for this demo, I'm going to name this as image folder. Then I'm going to name this as photo 1 or photo. Okay, so let's check that. So if you're within the code, it should be falls under public and image folder, then photo. And there you go. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we need to apply this photo on that section. So let's head back to our about. And then from here, since public is a universal or the global photo or the global location for any static files, we can simply call the path by simply typing in this manner. img is the name of the folder, this one, and the name of the photo that we're going to display. Make sure you cover all the path. Okay, so this is from public. So public is the general or the overall location for the static component for the static files like photos and everything. So this should be okay. Next. So let's enclose that. Okay, so since there's nothing here, we just simply remove this last portion and we can close this component. All right. So make sure this is after this box component here. So let's save this one. And there you go. Okay, so this is our cover photo. Okay, so it doesn't matter. You can increase the space for this one. So we're only demonstrating on how to position our component. So cool. So right now we managed to fix this stuff. Okay. All right. I think that is good for now. If you want this section to be centered, of course, there's so many ways to do that. We can also center our component. So to do that, uh, if you want this to display within, because right now, as you can see, there's a bunch of space, bigger space for our section. But if you are content with this one, I think this is good also. So you can explore more on your part, see which fits yours. So right now, just a review or a recap. Take note on the components that we use. First, we discuss about the timeline. Second, we discuss about the card. And the last one, oh no, we also discuss the box and the CardMedia. Okay? So those are the very basic things that you need to consider when creating your timeline. So there's so much things you can do from here. So, but for now, on the next tutorial, we'll be focusing next on the home. So expect that we're going to do a bunch of components that is available in Material UI. But for now, if you find this video informative, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. And see you guys on the next video series. Cheers!